This is exactly the situation we are currently in with those gacha games. It's all about the jiggles. I actually heard famous streamers like Asmongold talk about this topic.
You should make sure that all of the female characters in the game are fuckable.
Yeah, he's right, but that doesn't mean it's the way it's supposed to be. It's buried so deep below your level of awareness, and that's the thing the companies are actually attacking. Perhaps there will be like 50% degenerates, and there's 50% or less of actually developed human beings beyond the monkey brain.
And all of these games are gooner games.
You are being exploited right now. I think this is the most important video I ever made on this channel. Today I want to talk about the issues that are affecting men without them even knowing it. Imagine that. Did you ever get the feeling or ask yourself, what am I actually doing here while playing one of your 5 most favorite gacha games each day? Have you ever asked yourself what it is within you that gives you the urge to consume this content? When things are free in today's society, you're probably the product yourself. This means your data, your desires, like psychological tactics are getting deployed against you. And you probably don't even know about it. So today we're gonna talk about this, and I prepared a video for this to watch. Let's get started.
You've done it. I've done it. Every man reading this has done it. The thumbnail appeared, attractive woman, suggestive pose, promising something your brain registered before your conscious mind could evaluate. You clicked. Not because you decided to click, because something older than decision-making took over. The click happened and then you noticed you'd clicked. Someone made money from that click. Someone designed that thumbnail knowing you'd click. Someone tested dozens of variations to find the exact combination of pose, expression, and revealed skin that maximized the clicking. Your predictability was measured, optimized against, and monetized. You were the product being sold to advertisers, and your attention was purchased with an image calibrated to bypass your rational mind entirely. This isn't accusation, this is observation. The systems built to capture male attention through female sexuality have become so sophisticated, so pervasive, so integrated into every platform and product category that noticing them requires active effort. They've become background radiation, the normal way things are. Questioning them feels strange because they're everywhere, which is exactly how conditioning works. Today, we're mapping the machinery, how corporations, platforms, and individuals have engineered systems that convert male sexual attention into revenue. Not to moralize about whether this should happen, it's happening. The question isn't whether it's right. The question is whether you understand how completely you've been incorporated into a system designed to extract your money through your desire. Understanding the mechanism doesn't necessarily free you from it, but operating within a system you understand differs from operating within one that's invisible to you. At minimum, you'll see what's happening. What you do with that seeing is your business. The advertising foundation was laid decades ago. Sex sells. The phrase became cliché because the observation became universal. Marketers discovered early that sexual imagery captures attention more reliably than almost any alternative. The discovery wasn't subtle. It was dramatic enough that entire industries restructured.
First of all, this is a channel I really can recommend. Like, I watched a lot of content from this channel about relationships and the dynamics between men and women, but this is also a category this channel covers, and it's about the psychology of man, how the society exploits it, and the actual patterns that are playing out in the background without you even noticing. Imagine that. Like, you think this behavior of yours is normal because it feels normal to you, it's natural, other people do it too, but you can't see what's actually happening because of those arguments. You always look at other people, but never, is this actually right what you're doing? Or is what you are doing actually the product of the actions what someone else did to you without you even realizing it? And in today's society, you really gotta take care, guys. You get exploited wherever you look. Like in a grocery store, they sell you stuff that's consistently becoming less of a product than it was like 10 years ago for the same price. And you think it stays the same, but actually it's getting more expensive over time and you don't even realize. And those dark patterns, how some people call them, they're actually everywhere nowadays.
Dramatic enough that entire industries restructured around it. Beer advertisements pioneered the explicit connection. The product, alcoholic beverage consumed primarily by men, got wrapped in imagery of attractive women who seemed to exist in proximity to the beer. The logic was never that beer attracted women. The logic was that male attention captured by women would attach to the beer through association. See woman, feel desire. See beer, feel something adjacent to desire. Buy beer. The formula spread everywhere.
Okay, now and in our circles, what would that be? Play gacha games, right? Because your brain already associates playing gacha games with seeing beautiful women or like getting this trigger from desire, right? So you need to be aware. And let me say this up front. I'm not saying you should stop with any of that, right? It's about becoming conscious of it and being more responsible in how you handle things and not being handled by the things, right? You want to be in charge still and not being psychologically reprogrammed to do a certain behavior every day or something like that. Like, always be aware of that. Doesn't mean you have to stop doing any of those things, but the difference is in how you do it and not what you do.
Fast food chains put attractive women in commercials for hamburgers. Gum advertisements featured beautiful people whose gum chewing somehow connected to their attractiveness. Soda brands associated their sugar water with beautiful bodies. Automotive companies draped cars in women as if the vehicles came with them. The product category didn't matter. The formula worked regardless. The products themselves often disappeared from memory while the imagery persisted. Studies confirmed what intuition suggested. Viewers remembered the attractive woman long after forgetting what she was supposedly advertising. The advertisement failed at literal product promotion while succeeding at something else. Brand association with desire. The feeling attached even when the specific product didn't. Shock value amplified the effect. Advertisements pushed boundaries specifically because boundary pushing generated attention and controversy. The controversy itself became advertising. People discussed the provocative ad, spreading awareness far beyond paid media placement. The outrage was feature, not bug. Offense drove engagement that polite advertising couldn't achieve. Certain product categories found natural alignment.
That's actually also true. Like, I sincerely don't believe a lot of those dramas that are popping up in the gacha world about certain games getting censored or anything. Or like a new game tries to erase the gacha element from its game and stuff like that. It's all promotion. Don't fall for it. It's all just to spread the word about a certain game or something.
Perfume and cologne advertising made the subtext explicit. The promise wasn't that the fragrance smelled good. The promise was that the fragrance would make you attractive to beautiful people. The advertisements depicted outcome, desire, pursuit, romantic success, and positioned the product as causal agent. Spray this chemical compound, receive sexual attention. Old Spice built an entire brand resurrection on this formula. The absurdist humour wrapped a serious promise. Use this product and become the kind of man attractive women want. The humour provided cover for the message, making it palatable to audiences who might reject straightforward claims. But the message survived the humour. The man your man could smell like was the man who got the woman. Fashion advertising operated similarly. Calvin Klein's provocative campaign sold jeans by selling the bodies wearing them.
To be honest, if I think about it, like if you would ask me, do you believe in fragrances getting you more women? Yeah, probably I would say yes. This is the way I was conditioned. But in reality, actually your natural scent of your body, that's actually a lot better in most cases than those fragrances you can buy. My own observations, my own experience. That doesn't mean you have to smell bad, right? Like shower every other day. But your natural scent of your body is usually something that already attracts the other gender, just so you know.
Victoria's Secret sold underwear by selling the fantasy of the women modelling it.
Some fragrances are
the fantasy
great,
of accessing women who looked like that. The garments were incidental. The desire was the product. The garments were just the transaction mechanism. Tom Ford pushed further, using imagery so explicitly sexual that the products became almost irrelevant. The advertising was the point. Perfume or sunglasses or whatever was officially being sold existed as justification for the imagery that actually captured attention. The product served the advertising rather than advertising serving the product. The science of male attention got formalized. Researchers confirmed what marketers intuited. Male attention follows predictable patterns. Certain visual stimuli produce reliable responses that operate beneath conscious control. Eye tracking.
By the way, guys, there are actually also a lot of YouTube content creators and also on other platforms who intentionally use attractive women in their thumbnails to attract more clicks, like to gain more engagement on their videos. And I've actually seen so many like YouTube shorts where you can just add a thumbnail in the first second of your video, and then it just has like a half-naked woman on there, and the video is about something completely different. So people intentionally use this psychologically effect, if you want to call it that way, to get more success. And that's not only the big companies, even the small self-employed content creators, they are all using those shady tactics to get what they want, your click, your attention. And that's freaking sad. Guys, we are living in such a cruel world. We gotta turn this ship around, right? Otherwise our male population will be completely scrambled in their heads. Yeah, I feel also sorry for the women. I mean, many of them actually play the same game, like the way they dress themselves and show themselves outside. Yeah, what does that do? Huh? The sole reason for this is to trigger male attention. The thing is, this is biologically programmed within your being for the last thousands or millions of years even. So yeah, how could you say you're stronger than something that's way older than you? So we gotta have some respect for those instincts we have within us.
Eye tracking studies mapped exactly where men looked and for how long. The data converted into precision targeting. Studies demonstrated measurable behavioral effects. The hitchhiking experiment, where researchers varied the apparent breast size of female hitchhikers and measured male stopping rates, showed that physical attributes directly influenced male behavior.
Yeah, guys, I mean, it's true. If you're a woman, let me tell you this, if you have a partner and there goes like a beautiful young lady past you too, and his eyes just wander immediately over to this young, fresh human meat, right? Like this is what gets triggered in the human brain, in the male brain. This is how we're programmed. And not because not because you as a man, you want to look there, but it's automatic almost. It's so deeply programmed into you that automatically gets executed. It's a program that just gets executed. That's how we are deep within us. And there is, of course, a process of kind of self-growth and discipline where you can rise above those levels of awareness. Let's put it that way. Like you can notice, oh, my body is programmed to do that, but I can reprogram it. I can just not do this. The thing is, if you constantly lock yourself in a daily routine where you play like multiple gacha games and constantly expose yourself to those lewd imagery and like those intentionally optimized animations and jiggles, well, it will be harder to break out of that programming. Think about it.
The men stopping weren't consciously calculating. They were responding to stimuli that triggered responses they didn't choose and often couldn't articulate. This predictability became the foundation for entire industries. If you know where eyes will go, you know where to place advertisements. If you know what images will capture attention, you know what thumbnails to create. If you know what stimuli produce desire responses, you know how to engineer products and presentations that activate those responses reliably. The predictability transformed exploitation from opportunistic to systematic. Individual marketers making lucky guesses evolved into industries running continuous optimization experiments. Every click, every view duration, every purchase got fed back into systems, refining their understanding of exactly what triggered male response. The conditioning became algorithmic. Physical spaces got engineered around the formula. The restaurant business model represents the concept in physical form. Hooters built $1 billion enterprise on a simple insight. Men will pay more for food served by attractive
restaurants
in uniforms. The food was adequate. The real product was the environment. Proximity to attractive women who were contractually obligated to be friendly. The model replicated. Twin Peaks, tilted kilt, bone daddies. Each variation on the theme confirmed the underlying economics. Men would drive past dozens of restaurants offering equivalent food to eat at establishments, offering inferior food plus attractive servers. The premium paid for the servers substantially exceeded any premium that food quality could command. The women understood the transaction even when it remained officially unspoken. Tips correlated with attractiveness, with flirtation performance, with the management of male attention, that made customers feel special while extracting maximum payment.
I've never been to
Servers
Hoyoverse, I don't
optimized
know.
their behavior just as the corporations optimized
Sounds
their
wicked,
hiring and
though.
uniforms. Everyone understood what was being sold. The food was just the excuse. Controversy became its own marketing channel. Shock imagery and unexpected context generated attention that conventional advertising couldn't buy. Magazine covers pushed boundaries specifically because boundary pushing produced purchase spikes. The controversy drove discussion. The discussion drove awareness. The awareness drove sales. The sequence was reliable enough that engineering controversy became standard practice. Time magazine discovered this with covers that generated outrage. The outrage produced television segments discussing the cover. The segments produced social media debates. The debates produced awareness that penetrated demographics the magazine couldn't otherwise reach. The controversy cost nothing and generated millions in equivalent advertising value. The calculation became explicit in editorial meetings. How provocative can we be? What will generate maximum controversy without crossing into boycott territory? Where's the line that produces discussion rather than cancellation?
Okay, back then they already figured that out, but nowadays they figured out that a free game like Genshin made like the breakthrough worldwide with Gacha game. Well, they discovered that Genshin actually has such a power in pulling in the big money, like Gacha games in general, that what are we experiencing right now? A flood of new Gacha games. Like it's almost on a weekly and even daily basis that you get new Gacha games. And what do they sell you? A trash game with like minimum gameplay or something that's barely enjoyable, but they sell you the imagery on top of sexy female characters. And of course it sells because you want those characters, right? And this is why Gacha games are the perfect gaming category for this, right? They already got proof that it makes millions or even billions of dollars if you just push out the right game, the right appeal, and with all of those dark triad patterns, how they get you into the shop and everything, how you get into those microtransactions, so you learn yourself that it's okay to spend money on such stupid stuff and how to give in to your desires, right? Because they know how to trigger this primal instinct in you, and they reprogram you so you give in to that feeling and even associate it with spending money. It's absolutely crazy. Man, I really am worried for the coming generations. I'm a millennial, Generation Y, but man, I'm really afraid for our future kids. So maybe we can turn this ship around. Like if everyone takes responsibility for his own behavior and spreads the word and tells others to be more cautious with those little indulgences, just so they become aware of what's actually going on.
The publications weren't pursuing controversy accidentally. They were optimizing for it deliberately, with sexual imagery as reliable controversy fuel. Digital platforms amplified everything exponentially. The thumbnail economy emerged from measurable reality. Sexualized thumbnails outperformed alternatives.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned earlier. I tried it myself, guys. I'm also guilty. I tried it myself. I thought I want to kickstart the channel a bit. Let's resort to those tactics. But man, I can't live with doing that. And yeah, even like content creators who are in a completely different niche, even they will use those thumbnails just to get you clicking. It's pure clickbait.
The data was clear enough that creators who initially resisted eventually capitulated. The woman in revealing clothing generated clicks that the informative but visually boring alternative couldn't match. The algorithm rewarded what users clicked. Users clicked what triggered them. The system selected for triggering. Content creators learned through iteration. The video with the attractive woman in the thumbnail got more views than the identical video with a neutral thumbnail. The creator who wanted views, and views meant revenue, meant growth, meant algorithm favor, had to use what worked. Principled resistance meant algorithmic death. Compliance meant survival. Personal experience confirms the pattern. Creators who've tested both approaches report consistent results. The sexualized thumbnail pulls numbers that neutral alternatives can't approach. The content behind the thumbnail might be identical. The content might have nothing to do with sex. Doesn't matter. The thumbnail captures attention. The attention generates views. The views generate revenue. The system selects for whatever captures attention. Gaming discovered the monetization potential early. Video games learned that character design drove sales independent of gameplay quality. The female characters in fighting games got progressively more sexualized as developers realized what players responded to. The jiggle physics, the revealing costumes, the camera angles that lingered. These weren't accidents. They were deliberate design choices based on what testing revealed about player preferences.
So, think about that. This is exactly the situation we are currently in with those gacha games. It's all about the jiggles. It's all about the sexy new characters and their alt animations or skill animations, whatever. And that's pretty much the game. Like, that's more than 50% of the game. This is what sells. And the rest, like what the gameplay is actually about. Like, Hoyoverse actually proved that with Honkai Star Rail. They actually wanted to make a turn-based combat game. And I think if you played it for yourself and saw what it's like, you probably know what I mean here. The gameplay actually sucks. It's pretty much an autoplay game. And there are so many games that are actually autoplay, like AFK games. You just hit this one button and the game plays by itself. And you just get in, collect rewards, summon for characters, get out, next day the same thing again, auto battling. That's it. Is that actually gameplay, guys? Do you think little you, like 20 years ago when you were younger and you still knew what good games actually were like playing, do you think your past self would approve with what you're doing right now? Like if you're playing those auto-play games, is this actually what it means to play a game? Seriously, genuinely ask yourself this question. I think it's not. This has nothing to do with what playing games and enjoying or playfulness in general, what this actually means. Because what they have done to you is they connected to a part of your brain that's like in this primal instinct state and has this urge to see like those jiggle physics and other seductive content. And that's what actually gives you the kicks. This is what gives you a big dopamine release in your brain. And it's not the actual gameplay. It's not the game you play at all. It's all about freaking characters. So I really want you to get this, right? This is a big part of my audience here. I started this channel on gacha games. So part of my responsibility is to fix some of the damage I probably have done by supporting that. And yeah, just become aware of this, guys. It's very important for your mental health and also your future relationships. I mean, you probably want to have a family one day, and therefore you don't want to have crumbled your brain. Okay, let's continue.
The Witcher series sold millions of copies. The gameplay was good, the story was engaging. The female characters were also designed to maximize...
Oh yeah, The Witcher, guys. Man, I always was a fan of the black hair, the dark hair witch. What was she called? Not Triss. Like, this is not my kind of character, Triss. But actually, I dropped The Witcher. I didn't play the DLC till the end. But I finished the base game.
Maximize male attraction. Triss and Yennefer weren't practically for their dangerous world. They were dressed to appeal to the players controlling Geralt. The romance mechanics let players pursue these characters. The pursuit drove engagement. The engagement drove sales. Overwatch understood this from launch. The character roster included powerful male characters and attractive female characters, whose power somehow required skin-tight suits. Tracer's over-the-shoulder pose, Widowmaker's everything. The designs weren't optimized for combat functionality. They were optimized for player attraction. The game sold itself on these characters before players experienced a single match. Nier Automata made the subtext explicit. The protagonist wore a revealing outfit that the game's camera frequently emphasized.
Never played it actually. But let me add something to this. I actually heard like very famous streamers like Asmongold talk about this topic on multiple occasions. And he just said something like, well, the game didn't sell? Well, you gotta put those attractive female characters in it and then it will sell. Yeah, he's right, but that doesn't mean it's the way it's supposed to be. Just because our society currently gets exploited by those psychological warfare strats, this doesn't mean this has to be the baseline, right? Let's not push this any further because we are currently witnessing how what's happening in the dating scene, in modern dating, let's put it like that, what's happening there actually. And it's, for what you see on the internet from, mostly coming from America, are a lot of entitled women. And this goes so far that actually now men are saying, no, we're going our own way, like MGTOW and other movements are coming up. And man, so many single mothers out there, even in my country, I'm living in Austria, in the middle of Europe. There are actually a lot of single mothers, and I'm feeling so sorry for the children. They grow up without a father, and man, pathetic. Can't we just do it better? But yeah, it won't get any better if we go down a path like this. And then also we kind of enter a new era of AI girlfriends and like sex robots and whatever. Jesus, I can't imagine where this ends. Like, perhaps the human race gets extinct by all of this. Perhaps there will be like 50% degenerates who completely succumb to those primal instincts, and then there's 50% or less of actually developed human beings who grew beyond this level of being apes, developing beyond the monkey brain. But yet there are forces on this planet who want to hold you back. Like, they actively try to hold you in your place so you don't do anything stupid. You just function how they want you to function and spend the money where they want you to spend their money. Your money becomes their money. So yeah, you see where I'm going with this, right? And again, all I want to do is place this seed within your heart so it can slowly grow some awareness for what's actually going on. Okay, guys, we continue with the video.
Asked about this, simply acknowledged that he liked attractive women. The honesty was refreshing. The design drove sales that gameplay alone couldn't have achieved. Players discovered 2B's appearance before they discovered what buttons to press. Bayonetta built an entire franchise on sexualized presentation. The protagonist's design, her movements, her everything, calibrated to appeal to male players. The gameplay was legitimately excellent, but the gameplay existed within packaging designed to maximize male attraction. The excellence and the packaging worked together. Neither alone would have produced the results. Stellar Blade generated controversy precisely.
And now he's talking about all of those AAA games like Stellar Blade and so on. This is probably where the question comes, or this feeling within you. Why do I enjoy this so much? Like, you can't explain it to yourself even. It's buried so deep below your level of awareness, and that's the thing the companies are actually attacking. That's the thing they focus. Yeah, so it's hard to get a grasp of the whole situation, of the bigger picture. But this is what it's about.
Precisely because it delivered what players wanted while critics objected. The protagonist's design prioritized attractiveness over realism. Players responded enthusiastically. The game sold. The controversy generated additional attention. The formula worked exactly as decades of precedent suggested it would. Mobile gaming refined exploitation into art form. Gacha games represent the culmination of everything the industry learned. These games, primarily from Asian developers who understood the market without cultural hesitation, built entire economic models around...
Yeah, that's the sick part too, right? Like, if you think about it, the Asian continent, like the Asian culture is one of the oldest on this planet. And it has to be them who start this whole stuff. I mean, of course, other countries would have done it too, younger countries or even cultures. But the oldest culture of this planet, the wisest of them all, they go so hard on this. Like, they exploit the hell out of human population. Crazy.
Collecting attractive female characters. The gameplay was often secondary. The characters were the product. The randomized acquisition was the monetization mechanism. Genshin Impact generates billions in annual revenue. The core loop is simple. New characters get released. The characters are attractive. Players want the characters. Acquiring the characters requires either extensive grinding or payment. Most players pay. The payments, aggregated across millions of players, produce revenue that dwarfs traditional game sales. The character...
I gotta say that Genshin actually plays it very safe. They had like this model of the game right from the start, and they went with it till this day. Like, they actually invented a model that worked, made billions in the first few months, and they just sticked with it. Like, they didn't change a bit. Even when in like peak drama moments where the community was like rioting against the company, they still said, no, we don't need to change anything. The game is good enough. We keep it as it is. So there are probably more reasons why they chose to do that. But something that I also noticed is that Genshin actually doesn't need to go this hard on the lewdness, like the sexy characters. Of course, there is, they do it, like you can't deny that. Like if you look at characters like Shenhe or similar, I see they don't have to push it too hard. Like the game is already good enough. They don't need to make any characters more sexy, or the game is already popular enough. It has the perfect target audience, and I think they don't need to push it to a point where they get more adult people than young kids. I think there's also a strategy that they get like young audiences with Genshin, then they slowly convert them over to other games of theirs. Like they have already multiple games like Zenless Zone Zero, Honkai Star Rail, and they're all kind of for a different audience. Like the gameplay is different, and also the theme is like more mature or something. And I think they want to grab young audiences who later get older and are interested in other kinds of games that they are surprisingly offering, right? And so I think it works like this with the whole Hoyoverse. Like it is a verse. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. These are just my thoughts. Could be right, could be wrong. I don't know it. But it's very likely it goes in that direction.
The character designs are deliberate. The female characters feature proportions, outfits, and animations calculated to maximize appeal. The jiggle physics on characters in a game rated for teenagers tells you everything about the actual audience being targeted. The developers know what they're selling, the players know what they're buying. The transaction is clear to everyone except perhaps regulators. Zenless Zone Zero pushed further. The character designs became more explicitly provocative. The animations became more suggestive. The monetization became more aggressive. Players spent thousands chasing characters whose primary attribute was attractiveness. The gameplay existed to justify the spending. The spending existed to acquire the characters. The characters existed to trigger desire. The spending patterns defy casual explanation. The stereotype suggests teenagers spending lunch money. The reality involves adults.
Dude, if you're completely honest, they are selling you or trying to sell you porn games. Like if you think about it, the desire they want to address within you, what is it? Is it anything else? Come on guys, let's be honest.
Reality involves adults spending mortgage payments. The whale phenomenon, where a small percentage of players provide the majority of revenue, reveals adults with disposable income directing that income toward digital characters, not confused children, grown men making choices about where their money goes. The amounts stagger. Players spend...
Dude, if this video could only reach those small percentages of whales who like carry the whole games. If you know one, send this video to them and we will see. Perhaps we can change this whole dynamic and can steer this ship into a healthier direction. What do you say?
Tens of thousands of dollars on single games, 6 figures across gaming careers, money that could have purchased homes, funded retirements, or built actual businesses, directed instead toward acquiring pixels arranged to trigger attraction responses. The expenditure is voluntary. The expenditure is also shaped by systems designed to extract maximum payment. The psychological manipulation is sophisticated. Limited time banners create urgency. Pity systems create sunk cost commitment. The random acquisition triggers gambling circuits that weren't evolved to handle digital manipulation. The entire architecture optimizes for extracting payment from players whose self-control has been systematically undermined. The industry, euphemisms obscure what's happening. Player engagement, monetization mechanics, live service models. The language is clinical. The reality is exploitation of male attraction through female character design.
Okay, I like the sentence that your self-control, the player's self-control got systematically undermined by those companies. And how does that happen? Well, whenever you log in daily into your game of choice, and you will find, oh, there is one reason why I have to visit the shop, because there is this one free item I can claim daily. And this is how they systematically dismantle layer by layer of your self-control. And after like half a year, you've been to this shop, this in-game shop, so many times. Dude, does it make a difference if you just spend like 20 bucks? Okay, damn. You spent 20 bucks. You already started with the spending. Okay, next step. They put out a sale on a super attractive skin for a character you own. Okay, wow, you need to have it. FOMO kicks in, you can only spend on it for the next 5 days. Well, you do it. Wow, check. You make the next action towards losing your self-control. And like, they know how the psychology of human brains work. There are studies on this because it's something that accommodates us for the last millions of years already. So it's very hard to not get played by those companies in this regard.
Design, combined with gambling mechanics designed to maximize extraction. The combination is potent enough to fund billion-dollar companies. Direct monetization eliminated the middleman. OnlyFans and its competitors represent the logical endpoint.
Oh, yeah.
If male attention toward female sexuality generates value, why insert a product in the middle? Why sell beer adjacent to attractive women when you could sell access to the women directly?
And they even do it voluntarily, right? They even say, yes, give me that money. I give you my body.
The platforms that enable direct creator monetization simply removed inefficiencies from an ancient transaction. Social media became the funnel. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Platforms where creators could build audiences through suggestive content that stopped just short.
And guys, talking about social media, like I experienced it myself, the algorithm is spot on whatever you are looking at. Like if you give in to those lewd imageries and even take a look at it one time on, like, let's say Instagram, it's guaranteed you get it served onward. Like then there is another moment where it gets served to you. And since it caught you so off guard, you just get this instant trigger of your desires. And oh, that makes me feel good to see that. And then you look at it again. And the next time you got 2 more of those posts in your timeline and so on and so on. So the algorithm keeps you in a bubble, and if you let it happen that the bubble turns into something like this, dude, it's harder and harder to get out of that. People should actually do like digital detox, like for a few days or even a week, just do like digital detox. I know people who just stop watching YouTube or at least shorts or those other short form content platforms like TikTok. Just stop. Dude, you can't imagine what it does to your brain. Or at least go on YouTube and search for a video about this topic, how it destroys your brain. It's way better. Educate yourself, guys. Do better.
Just short of platform violations. The followers accumulated. The followers got directed to subscription platforms where the content continued without restriction. The social platforms provided free marketing. The subscription platforms provided the actual monetization. Streaming revealed the economics clearly. Female streamers on Twitch, YouTube, and other platforms understood that appearance drove viewership beyond any content quality. The hot tub meta on Twitch wasn't accident or coincidence. It was streamers discovering that revealing clothing in inflatable pools generated views that gaming skill couldn't match. The platform resisted briefly.
Yeah, but if you're a man and you find yourself watching some hot tub streamers on Twitch, tell yourself you have a monkey brain right now. Okay? Tell that to yourself. Do better.
Then capitulated. The economics were too clear. Traditional career paths got abandoned. Women who would previously have pursued conventional employment discovered that monetizing male attention directly produced income their other options couldn't match. The choice was economically rational.
But it also has an expiration date, right? But this video is not for the women. This video is about the men among us.
Even when socially complicated. Why work a job when you can earn multiples of that income through a camera and a subscription platform? The competition for male resources intensified. The explosion of supply creates a new dynamic. Male attention and male money face competing claims from every direction. The game wants your payment for characters. The streaming platform wants your subscription for access. The advertising system wants your attention for products. The direct creators want your subscription for content. Every direction presents stimuli designed to capture your response. The competition is for finite resources. Men have limited attention. Men have limited money. The systems competing for both have unlimited appetite. The saturation of sexualized content across every platform and product category represents competing extraction attempts. Each system wants to capture the share of male attention and spending that other systems also want. The aggregate extraction is substantial. A man might not notice any single payment. The subscription here, the gacha pull there, the premium purchase somewhere else, but aggregated across all the systems competing for his resources, the total extraction often represents significant percentage of disposable income. Death by 1,000 cuts, each cut individually small, collectively major, the conditioning compounds across exposure. None of these systems operates in isolation. The advertising conditions response patterns from childhood. The games reinforce those patterns through adolescence. The platforms exploit established patterns through adulthood. Each layer builds on previous layers. The man responding to a thumbnail at 30 was trained to respond by advertisements he saw at 10.
Oh man, that's so true. I'm actually 35 right now. But man, how the world wants to destroy us, guys. Let's say it for what it is. Man.
Cumulative effect shapes expectations. What women should look like. How attractiveness correlates with worth. The implicit exchange rate between male attention and female appearance. These expectations don't emerge from nowhere. They're constructed through decades of exposure to systems optimized to create exactly those expectations, because those expectations drive the spending the systems depend on. The shaping is often invisible to the shaped. The man who believes his preferences are natural, his own authentic responses to objective reality, doesn't recognize those preferences as constructed. But the preferences that conveniently align with what corporations want him to prefer deserve at least skeptical examination. The feminist critique has partial validity. Critics who argue that this system objectifies women aren't entirely wrong. The system does reduce women to visual stimuli optimized for male response. The character design that prioritizes attractiveness over functionality does treat female bodies as products. The thumbnail that uses female appearance to capture clicks does commodify that appearance. Where the critique fails is in proposing alternatives. The system exists because it works. The games that don't sexualize characters generate less revenue. The thumbnails that don't feature attractive women get fewer clicks. The advertising that doesn't leverage sexual attention captures less attention. The market rewards what works. What works is what the critique opposes. The tension remains unresolved. Ideologically, many people believe sexualization is problematic. Economically, sexualization is profitable. The economic incentives overwhelm the ideological preferences. Companies that
This is why capitalism is such a pain in the right? This is actually the sole reason, because it constantly pushes those boundaries into toxic territory. And yeah, every ideology has to go.
prioritize ideology over profit get outcompeted by companies that don't. The selective pressure runs in one direction only. This isn't endorsement, it's observation. The systems will continue regardless of whether they receive moral approval. Understanding them clearly serves anyone who wants to navigate them with awareness, rather than being navigated by them unknowingly. The individual response options are limited. Awareness provides some protection. The man who recognizes a thumbnail as trigger bait can sometimes pause before clicking. The man who understands gacha mechanics as gambling can sometimes resist the pull. The recognition doesn't eliminate the response, but creates space between stimulus and action, where choice can operate. Behavioral design can reduce vulnerability. Not having payment methods attached to gaming platforms, setting spending limits in advance, avoiding platforms entirely where the extraction is most aggressive. These structural interventions protect against moments when willpower fails, because willpower often does fail against systems optimized to defeat it. Philosophical reframe offers different leverage. The man who genuinely doesn't value what these systems sell won't be extracted from as easily. But genuinely changing what you value is difficult. The preferences were installed early. They've been reinforced continuously. Deciding to value differently is easy. Actually valuing differently is hard. Social support provides additional resource. Men who discuss these patterns with each other develop shared resistance. The normalization of unlimited spending gets challenged when spending gets discussed openly. The isolation that enables extraction, each man thinking his behavior is unique, breaks down when patterns get compared.
This is why we are talking right now, guys. How did he call it? So guys, what we are currently doing here is like social support. We are building a social support system. Like, feel free to come onto my Discord server and just talk about this topic with other people in there. And what I want to currently start here is like this conversation and to build like a little social circle where we are not alone with this. Like, we are already in this together, or we are all in the same boat, but we don't really know from each other, or we don't want to see it. But it's actually true. Like, why do we play this game? Is it actually because of the great gameplay? Yes, like Wuthering Waves has great gameplay. PGR is one of the best mobile games there is, or with the best combat. But guys, we are slowly drifting off of this path into some darker places, and I'm pretty sure a lot of us already, like, they think there's no going back, or they already see it as this normal state of theirs. But that's not true. Let's just talk about it. Let's talk about how we enjoy those games in a healthy way, how this is possible, even though the companies want to do the exact opposite and just get you hooked and like exploit you. Let's have a healthy discussion about this, and all I want to do is encourage such a discussion and bring awareness to this topic.
The system isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
The forces maintaining the system are too powerful for reversal.
Too rich.
Too much money flows through the extraction mechanisms. Too many industries depend on continuing it. Too many people accept it as normal because it's been normal their entire lives.
And also, every day there are new players joining those games and falling for those predatory tactics. You can't save them all, right? But we can go into that direction. Step by step, bit by bit. Our society will heal. Old systems will get replaced, like capitalism or, I don't know, whatever is needed for a better world. Slowly but surely. And you can't do anything from one day to the next. But as he mentioned earlier, if you can just establish this little space in between trigger and taking action, and you leave space for some awareness, that's all that's necessary.
The conditioning that enables the system also enables its perpetuation. New technologies will intensify rather than moderate. AI-generated imagery will produce infinite sexualized content at zero marginal cost. Virtual reality will offer immersion that flat screens can't match. Brain-computer interfaces will eventually enable stimulation that bypasses external presentation entirely. Each technological advance will be deployed to capture male attention more effectively than previous technologies permitted. The extraction will continue until something fundamental shifts. What that shift might be remains unclear. Perhaps economic collapse that reduces disposable income. Perhaps technological change that redirects attention. Perhaps cultural evolution that modifies the underlying response patterns. But within any foreseeable time frame, the system will expand rather than contract. The understanding serves something even without escape. Seeing clearly has value independent of changing what's seen. The man who understands his own conditioning experiences his responses differently. The compulsion doesn't necessarily disappear, but its mechanical quality becomes visible. The puppet can see the strings even if it can't cut them. The seeing produces questions. Is this desire authentic or manufactured? Is this spending reflecting my values or values installed for extraction purposes? Is this attention going where I want it, or where billion-dollar optimization systems directed it? The questions don't have easy answers, but asking them differs from never asking them. The autonomy that remains, within constraints the system imposes, might be the only autonomy available. You can't escape the advertising. You can't unsee the character designs. You can't remove the conditioning that decades of exposure installed. But you can know what's happening. You can make choices with awareness rather than without it. You can resist where resistance is possible, even while acknowledging that comprehensive resistance isn't possible. The collective dimension matters more than individual. Individual escape from the system is difficult enough to approach impossible for most, but collective awareness might produce collective response. Men who recognize their shared exploitation might develop shared resistance. The normalization that enables extraction depends on each man believing his behavior is unique and natural, rather than engineered and common. Conversations like
that's
this
so
one
important
serve that
to get,
not as
guys.
solution. These words won't dissolve the machinery, but as contribution to awareness that might, aggregated across many minds, produce something the individual awareness cannot. The system depends on invisibility. Visibility threatens it, not fatally, but meaningfully. The younger generations face greater exposure with less preparation. The boys encountering these systems today face optimization far more sophisticated than previous generations encountered. The extraction will be more effective, The conditioning will be more thorough, unless something intervenes, unless awareness reaches them before the conditioning completes. The framing of this as men's issue requires nuance. Women participate in the system too. The creators who monetize male attention aren't victims. They're participants making choices within the same economic structure. The extraction flows from men to women in many of these mechanisms. Describing men as purely exploited ignores that women bear costs too, primarily in terms of how the system shapes expectations about what women should be.
Of course. Like I said in the beginning, if you want to have a family in the future, think about what it does to you. Like, your brain learns what is attractive and appealing to it, and like, a woman can't compete with those unrealistic standards, like those fictional characters from those games like Arknights or Zenless Zone Zero, whatever. Real women can't compete with that. Just know that, okay? Facts. You won't find the perfect woman that's in the proportions like this, with the character like this and everything. It's not reality. So, yeah. And man, I feel bad for the women too. Like, imagine you find a suitable woman, and in the end, she knows she won't be able to compete with all the stuff you consume to that point, and probably you still keep consuming. That's not fair. So you create like an atmosphere where it's almost impossible for the woman to feel accepted how she is and attractive to you.
The system exploits everyone in different ways. Men get exploited for money and attention. Women get exploited for image and performance. Both are being shaped by forces designed to maximize value extraction. The shared exploitation might be foundation for shared resistance rather than gendered conflict. But acknowledging shared exploitation doesn't mean both sides experience equal costs. The financial extraction from men is direct and measurable. The psychological and social costs to women participating in the system are real but less quantifiable. Comparison of costs produces conflict rather than clarity. Better to recognize that the system serves neither group's authentic interests while serving economic interests enormously. The ancient dynamics meet modern engineering. Male response to female sexuality isn't new, it's as old as the species. What's new is the engineering, the systematic optimization of that response for value extraction. The vulnerability was always present. The exploitation was always possible. What changed is the precision, the scale, and the algorithmic sophistication of the exploitation. Understanding this distinction matters. The response isn't something to be ashamed of. The response is biological reality that exists independent of any individual's choice. The exploitation of that response is the problem, but the problem lies in the exploitation, not in the underlying response being exploited. Self-hatred doesn't serve resistance. The man who feels ashamed of his responses doesn't resist better. He resists worse because shame produces hiding rather than addressing. The response can be acknowledged without celebration and without shame. It simply exists. The question is what happens around its existence. The economic analysis reframes the moral framing. Moralizing about this system tends to miss the point. The system doesn't persist because of moral failure. It persists because of economic incentive. The people operating within it, the advertisers, the game designers, the platform creators, the individual monetizers, aren't evil. They're responding to incentives that reward exactly what they're doing. Moral condemnation that ignores economic reality produces only frustration. The condemnation doesn't change incentives. The incentives continue producing the behavior the condemnation targets. The gap between moral stance and practical reality generates outrage without generating change. Economic analysis suggests different approaches. What would change incentives? What would make extraction less profitable? What would shift the calculus that currently rewards sexualized optimization? These questions might produce actionable answers where moral condemnation produces only expressed preference. The answers aren't obvious. Perhaps nothing available can shift incentives enough to matter. Perhaps the system has achieved self-sustaining momentum that no intervention can redirect. But the questions themselves are better than the moral outrage that typically replaces them. The personal accounting becomes available. A man can inventory his own extraction. Where has his money gone that these systems directed? What has he purchased because systems engineered his desire? What would that money have become if directed elsewhere? The accounting doesn't produce different past. It might produce different future. The calculation often disturbs. Money spent on gacha characters, money spent on subscriptions to creators, money spent on products because attractive women appeared in advertisements. Aggregated across years, the amount is substantial, directed toward the system rather than toward goals that would have served him better. The future direction doesn't require perfection. Complete escape from the system isn't realistic. Some extraction will continue regardless of awareness, but reduction is possible. Redirecting even portion of the extracted resources towards self-serving purposes.
Man, that's so brutal. I just realized, I mean, I know this is an AI video, right? This is all like AI clips made according to the text, the whole script. And it's probably also written by AI. But man, that's not looking good, right? The future is not looking so bright, huh? Like, even the AI says it's impossible to get rid of those systems. And even if you have your self-control back, you still will be exploited in some ways. So it's looking quite dark here. But let's see what the final words are.
Represents victory that complete resistance isn't required to achieve. The awareness carries forward. Seeing once doesn't mean seeing permanently. The conditioning is strong. The systems are sophisticated. The moments of clarity compete against years of installation and continuous reinforcement. The seeing fades. The conditioning reasserts. The extraction resumes. Maintenance of awareness requires intention. Returning to the analysis. Remembering what was understood. Discussing with others who understand.
I actually always try to write things down on like little sticky notes. So I always keep it in my conscious brain what actually my goals are currently. So it is very important if you want to actively push change in your life. You can't lose the focus on your goals. So every day you have to be reminded about your goals. This is the only way how you can break patterns, like behavioral patterns and whatever else is counting into those gacha games, or whatever behaviors else are playing into those gacha games and those extraction mechanics. So you gotta be disciplined in what you want. You got to have discipline to move forward into a direction where you're not controlled by past patterns you have learned to exercise.
The awareness isn't a one-time achievement. It's a practice that requires repetition against forces constantly working to reinstall the oblivion that enables extraction. Community supports this practice. The man trying to maintain awareness alone faces harder work than the man with others maintaining awareness together. The shared understanding provides mutual reminder. The conversation itself constitutes resistance. The isolation that enables extraction breaks down through connection that acknowledges what's happening. The final frame crystallizes. Male sexuality is exploited systematically for profit. The exploitation is engineered, optimized, and delivered through every platform and product category. The conditioning that enables the exploitation began in childhood and continues through every exposure to content designed to trigger response. The extraction that follows is predictable, measurable, and massive in aggregate. Understanding this doesn't solve it. The systems are too entrenched, the incentives too powerful, the conditioning too deep. But understanding changes the experience of what can't be escaped. The puppet that sees the strings operates differently than the puppet that doesn't. Not freely, but differently. The question becomes what to do with the seeing. Direct resources differently where possible. Discuss with others to break isolation. Protect younger men from conditioning still being installed. Maintain awareness against constant pressure to forget. These actions don't defeat the system. They represent the resistance available within it. The exploitation continues regardless. This analysis won't stop it. Your awareness won't stop it. But awareness might redirect some portion of what you would otherwise have surrendered. Might reduce the extraction even while unable to eliminate it.
So we could view it like this. Even though it's not within our power to get rid of those predatory mechanics and strategies of companies, it's like, to give you a little analogy, if you live in a world where you constantly breathe in toxic waste of, let's say, cars, like it's in our reality, and you don't know about it, and you kind of live right next to the highway where the pollution is probably very high. If you don't know about it, it will screw with your life, right? It will make your health worse. And if you live like right next to the highway and you don't know about it, yeah, well, you will die earlier. And if you know about it, it also won't change the problem that you live right next to the highway, right? But you are aware of it and can take measures to better your situation. So it's not about getting rid of bad stuff in the world, because that's not within our power. Like, there are also crooked people in politics and stuff. We can't get rid of it, but we can take other measures to make the whole situation better. And in the end, if enough people are going this way and live with such a mindset, the less people find the opportunity to be in those evil positions in politics or exploit your desires. That won't be possible if you are already being aware of where your next step will be, like what your next step is in your life. If you are doing every step with awareness, you're not likely to fall for those tactics. Of course, even if you make a change, there still will be 90% of the human population who just hasn't grown beyond that point or to that point. So they will still get exploited. But you can talk openly about this topic, and one day it will be out of this world. That's at least my hope.
Partial victory in a conflict where total victory isn't available. More content on understanding systems designed to exploit, maintaining awareness against conditioning pressure, and redirecting resources towards serving yourself rather than serving extractors exists. Links available for those pursuing clearer seeing. For those who've calculated their own extraction, share the numbers. Share what you realized you'd spent. Share where those resources went that systems directed. The sharing itself resists the isolation that enables extraction. Others benefit from knowing they're not alone in what they've experienced. The conditioning is real, the extraction is real, the awareness is also real. What you do with that awareness determines whether it serves you or just makes you more uncomfortable while the extraction continues anyway. That awareness determines whether it serves you or just makes you more uncomfortable while the extraction continues anyway. Choose usefulness over mere discomfort. Make the seeing serve something, or don't, but recognize the choice you're making.
Damn. Guys, we made it. That was the full video. I will definitely link you this video in the description. Again, I really enjoy this channel. It has some very interesting insights in, for example, what we just saw, especially with women. I learned a lot from this channel, so I can only recommend it if you still need to learn a lot on that front. But yeah, what I want to say to the topic, first off, great script, great video. Yeah, I already mentioned it during the video. I want to encourage having a discussion about this. Like, you already saw it in my past videos on this channel. I always was a bit of a critic when it comes to gacha games. And before I got into it, I also couldn't understand it, how anyone could play such a game. Well, now I know it. Now that I got brainwashed and hooked myself, I see the whole play in front of me, the whole theatrical play. But yeah, here we are. I know a lot of you guys are in the same spot as me, that we like got hooked on a few games and now it's time to grow up and just leave it behind, or continue responsibly at the very least and aware of what's actually going on and not being as helpless anymore, right? I don't want you guys to feel overwhelmed by this world and kind of, I want to give you the tools to be able to go through this world on your own. And this is like, in my opinion, a very major thing we had to discuss on this channel. So either way, if you want to continue being a gacha game enthusiast, or if you want to keep playing games with very, very attractive characters who are optimized to the max to grab your attention, that's up to you. It's your own decision. Whatever you do, do it responsibly and with this in mind. You can also watch this video again. I would be happy about it if you give me another click on this video, but decide for yourself. It's a very important thing and important that we took the time to talk about this. Thank you for sticking around till the very end of this video, and more is coming in the future. If you like this content, on my channel. Please do me the favor and go into the comment section and leave a comment there. Also hit the little like button and subscribe to the channel, of course. And then we will tackle more of those topics in the near future. I actually got the next video lined up. Let me also know what you think about that. Well, that's it for today. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Ava out.